Hello, I'm Francis Seeley from GlobalNet 21 and MPhil Voices, and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar today. And in this webinar, we're going to look at performing arts and youth crime, and a lot more as well. And what we're going to do is look at the fact that youth crime is a growing problem in many of our cities. And where we're doing this webinar, which is in Edmonton in North London, knife crime has been a particularly serious problem. And we're going to look at how one project has involved young people in performing arts, not just to tackle youth crime, but to give those young people confidence. There are often many people who've been ignored at school, they've failed at school, but they do have a lot to offer. And through performing arts, they are beginning to find their voice. So we're going to interview Nina Lewis, who has founded Platinum Performing Arts, and she recognizes the problems that many of these young people face. And through the work that she does make a real difference. So let's go over to the webinar now and see what Nina has to say. And we first ask her about what made her do this and what her background was.
So basically my school life wasn't great because I wasn't very academic. So I was a little bit of an angry child, and I found dance really helped me escape. So that was one of the reasons why I did open up Platinum, because that's what helped me overcome what I had to overcome as I was growing up. Years ago, there wasn't any, it wasn't anything known as dyslexia. It was just, you're just a naughty child that didn't like to read. And it was only later on in life, at the age of 19, that I actually found out that I had dyslexia, because I left school not being able to read and write. And as I said, the only escape I did have was through dance. And another thing was martial arts as well, but my passion was more of the dance. So that's why I sort of went down that avenue.
Okay, so, you left school, you had problems at school because of dyslexia and so on. I mean, how did you get the idea that you would start your own company, your own organization? And I mean, that's a hell of a thing to do. How did you set about doing that?
Okay, so I was always, not being able to read and write made me always very self-sufficient in other ways. And I found that when I first had my first child, I was taking her to different, she danced from the age of 3, taking her to different, classes and stuff. And I was always finding myself wanting to get involved and do those sort of things, because before I opened the school, I actually run a fundraising events company that I used to go into schools and put on fashion shows, put on evenings, events for the schools to raise money for whatever they were raising money for at the time. So I was always doing stuff on my own anyway. I very rarely worked for anybody. I was always working for myself from a very young age, because I found not being able to read and write wasn't the best way to go in and be able to get a job. So I was always working for myself.
So how did you get this sort of motivation? I mean, where did it come from? Because, there's a lot of determination in your personality and your character. It must have come from somewhere.
I think it came from the barriers that I faced. Not being able to read and write. I was told at a very young age I was stupid and I wasn't going to be becoming anything at school, which then made me really want to prove that particular teacher wrong, because I've got that in me. I came from a one-parent family. My mum is of Greek origin. She didn't really talk English at the time. So there was a lot of barriers that I had to face. But through the dance and through the arts that I used to do as a young person, showed me how to turn that into determination and hunger and fight.
So when you decided you wanted to do that, I mean, what's interesting about what you did, you didn't say, I want to start a performance organization, drama, music, and so on. You actually wanted to do something in the community. You are performance plus, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I opened the performing arts schools, when I was working within the schools as well, doing all the fundraising events, and doing dance classes in schools and fitness in schools, I used to find that when I'd go into to teach in certain schools, they'd say, oh, you've got, Joe Blogs and, this child and this child, they're not going to take part because, they're a little bit, the behaviour's a little bit this or that. And by the end of the time that I'd finished teaching, they were the children that were the most engaged. They were the children that I could see the most passion from. They were the children that I could see, fire in their belly. So that really pushed me towards, wanting to do more of that. And that's what it is. I think through the arts, you see that and it's not just arts, it's sports, it's anything. If you can connect with a young person and their passion, that's where you get the best out of them.
So, yeah, no, I was going to say, go on, but so in a way, I mean, you felt that those people that were failed by the school actually really wanted to learn, and you found a way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I hate using the word fail, but yeah, I mean, I think I can only relate to myself and the children that I work on over the years, and I've worked over years. We can't be put in the same box. We're all very, very different, and we all learn very, very different. And I just feel just because you're not learning in one subject, it doesn't mean you don't want to learn. That's just not your subject. And that's what it is. Hence, even academic wise, naturally people love, literacy, or some people love numbers, some people love science. It's just, I think things like sports and arts and drama and dance and, singing is sort of pushed on a lower spectrum, which it's not, because you can have a great profession in whatever you decide to do if you put 100% into it. I think that's where we're going wrong a little bit now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And sometimes we define intelligence too narrowly, and you actually broaden it out, which is great. And is that why, I mean, you're not just like an amateur theatrical society, you actually do a lot more, including vocational training, don't you?
Yeah, so with us, we've created a platform. So we've created a platform that if you feel that you want to progress within the industry, we will give you all the tools to do that. When we opened up, I think it's 16 years ago now we opened up. When we opened up, we were very much based as a street dance school. It was just street dance. And then as I started to get the volume of children in, because I do fitness as well, so I had a lot of the parents that I taught would then bring their children to me. And that's where the foundation of Platinum really grew, because people knew me within the community, so they trusted me and they could see what we've worked together and done. So they brought their children to me. So as they were bringing their young people to me, I could see that, wow, this isn't just a fun session we're doing. This is something that they could really, really go into and have a profession. So we started to look at other things, like what do we need to create that? Just because we're in Enfield or Edmonton, why can we not create amazing young performers or amazing stage managers or choreographers or anything to do with the arts? And that's where we started to build that platform for young people to be able to perform. I am a bit of a perfectionist. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. And I like to keep control of things. I like to get the best out of everything I do. So if I'm putting on a show, I do want the best lights. I do want the best children, the children to have the best costumes. I want them to have that professional experience. So when they go into the real world, that there's no surprises. So we have built this platform for young writers, for young choreographers, and where we started to see our children filter into the big colleges in central London and outside of central London, and getting scholarships for these big colleges. I mean, our children, we've had over £450,000 worth of scholarships in the large, big professional industry colleges. So we looked at what we were doing and we were like, okay, what about the young people that are not ready to go to these big colleges yet? Once they hit 16, what do they do? Where do they go? They're not going to get into the big ones yet if they're not ready for them. And that's where now that next step of us opening the academy has come up.
Well, I'll talk to you about that in a minute, but what you're saying is that you have links with the big schools like Bristol or Vic Theatre School and places like that, but you're realising there's a gap. There's people younger than that, they're not ready for that, but they want to be involved, and that's where you're targeting what you do.
Yeah, and we're getting them ready for that. We're getting them ready to audition for the Brits, for Erdang, for Italia Conti, for Sylvia Young. We're getting them ready so they have the same playing field as everybody else. So we give them that equipment to be able, to go out and have the same tools as everybody else. And that's what it is. It's being able to express. And there's one thing that I would say that we have in our children in Edmonton, Enfield, North London, is we have so much passion that you can't teach. You can't teach passion. You can't teach drive. You can't teach hunger. That comes from inside of them. And that's one thing that I would say all of our children have got. And
so,
I feel very proud of that.
Yeah. So you're saying that the kids have passion, they have drive, but what you're doing is more than just theatre, isn't it? You're actually turning that drive into confidence, making them realise they can have a purpose and a role in life.
That's right. And I think this is where a lot of young people now feel, and I've been working a lot in schools the last 6 months and speaking to a lot of young people, and they feel they're being set up for failure. And they feel everything's very, very difficult. I know when I was young, I strived that I wanted to buy my house and I wanted to have a nice car and I wanted to go on holiday. And, they seem to have lost that strive because it seems impossible for them to reach that, where actually it isn't. But this is not what they're being shown. We're showing them you can become anything you want to become. You don't, just because you come to Platinum or any performing arts school or any, football club or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a performer. But what it teaches you is commitment, teamwork, never giving up, knowing that you can achieve things that maybe you thought you could never achieve. So these are life skills. They're not just, performing arts skills. They're life skills, and that is what I feel very strongly about. I feel my mum prepared me very, very well with those skills, and I do feel, unfortunately, young people are not being prepared with those skills anywhere at the moment, unless their parents are installing them. And we know, parents are very busy trying to make ends meet, working all the time. All this social media that's got, where all the children have buried their heads in the phone, and we lose that time of connection and being able to connect as human beings. And I think this is what, especially performing arts, really installs, and it keeps those old school, meaningfulness of just human beings talking, really.
And you're obviously very inclusive, aren't you? Because you don't just go for exclusive people. You deal with special needs, you deal with disabilities. You're right across the board.
Yes, I think the world we live in is inclusive. So I feel that everything we do needs to be inclusive. I mean, to be honest with you, with the inclusive group, we started that 6 years ago, which was inspired by me going to work at Chicken Shed one day, which is the most amazing place for inclusiveness. And I got inspired so much, and the young lady that I was working with said to me, we've got a waiting list for our part-time school for like 6 years, I think she said, or 5 years. And I was like, wow. And I had a lot of young people coming to me saying, with learning difficulties and physical difficulties, saying we want to be a part of Platinum, we want to do what they do, we want to do what these kids do. So do you know what? I did a pilot for 6 weeks, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life, to be honest. Most touching thing I've ever done. And now, they've been with me, that same group has been with me 6 years later. And they're absolutely amazing. And, some of them have gone off to go to Chicken Shed College now. And, they've gone into the industry, and it's amazing. And I think just because you have some kind of barrier, it doesn't mean that you can't. It just means you need to find another way. That's what I think.
So how important do you think it is that you set up in Edmonton where there's a lot of poverty, and that's a real bonus for you, isn't it? Because you can reach a lot of people who really need what you do.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we opened in Edmonton. I mean, Millfield Theatre itself is an amazing premises. We've got amazing studios there. We've got an amazing theatre there. We've got amazing grounds. Just because it's in Edmonton, it doesn't mean it's not amazing. And I think that's one of the reasons why I went there, because it shows that you can be in any surroundings, anywhere, and you can still have that amazing experience. And I just think, to be honest with you, Edmonton, it has got poverty, but it's not to a point of detriment where, that's what makes the children who they are, is knowing the struggles of real life, But we have children from all over. We have children from all over. We have children from Southgate. We have children from Essex. We have children, and that's what's lovely about where we are. Everybody coming together, and there is no, once you walk through those Millfield Platinum doors, everybody is equal. Everyone.
But when you do theatre, I mean, what's interesting, you try and do theatre, you try and do drama, which isn't just something you watch, then you go away and you have a meal and you forget about it. No. You try to deal with social issues, don't you?
Yeah, and that is, something that we've always done from when we first opened. Is, yes, we do, we do our fun side of it, but we create theatre that is food for thought for food. It's like, for me, I want you to go away and I want you to think about what we've just done. I want you to go away and talk about it, share it with your friends, discuss it, create discussions through what you've just watched. And generally, because we work with so many young people, they can give us the true life stories. We can sometimes even judge slightly on what we feel, but it's not us. The young people are going through what they are going through right now. When we were young, all we had to worry about is, how long we were going to play outside in the front for. The young people of today have got so much more and are expected to do so much more, that if we put ourselves in their shoes, how would we really cope?
And you say they got so much more confronting them, and one is, often the breakdown of families, poverty, yeah, austerity, and then they get involved in new families. Those new families are called gangs, and they get involved in crime. And Edmonton is a place where there has been a lot of youth crime, and there has been a lot of knife crime, unfortunately. Now, is that one of the major issues that you're trying to confront?
Well, through this project that we're doing with Power to Make a Change, we have gone into most of the Enfield secondary schools and spoken to over 600 young people to speak to us and be honest about what they go through on a daily basis, their fears. And one of their biggest fears that they came up with was walking home from school. That kept on reoccurring. The waiting at a bus stop for a bus to go home, not being able to go shopping in Enfield Town, Edmonton Green, without having the fear of, being asked where you're from. Are you from this area? So that is going to play a big part of the theatre piece that we're doing, that we're opening up to all the schools to come in to watch free. And then we're doing a couple of evening shows as well for the public to come and watch as well. And that is one of the things that is popping up all the time, is the crime on the street. It's their fear of it. They say the young people are very scared. The young people are very scared at the moment, and they're very scared of being just young people, and that's what's very sad.
So is one of your aims, like when you go in schools, to educate, or is your performance art, your theatre, everything you do, also a safe place where they can go?
Safe place, definitely. Especially when they come into somewhere like Platinum, or any groups you go to, whether it's football groups, whether it's martial art groups, they are that extended family for some children. So as you said, some will go down the avenue of finding another family, which is a gang. That's because they haven't had that opportunity to maybe experience something else and be given that you know, that gift of being able to come to these places, because unfortunately, wherever you go, unless it's totally funded, it's not free. So that's one of the barriers. If you do come from a family that hasn't got the funds to be able to send you to somewhere like Platinum, or send you to somewhere, like Chicken Shed, or send you to these places, what do? You look for a family elsewhere. So what we try and do is provide scholarships, which unfortunately we can't provide as many as we would love to provide. We work, we've been funded now by the National Lottery to do this piece here, but it's still, young people need things to do after school. This is where the problem is. What do? They look for belonging. They look for avenues to make them feel like they're important. And if you haven't got a passion for dance, a passion for drama, a passion for football, a passion for academics, what do? If you haven't, or even if you have got these passions and you can't afford any of these things, what do? There is only one way to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you talk about that, but one of the other things I noticed you said in your publicity, which I thought was really crucial, is you provide a forum for them to tell their story. And how important is it that they do have the ability to do that?
That is one of the biggest things that we really promote, is giving young people a voice. When we speak to young people, they say to us, no one listens. We can't get heard. Hence, if you go into a classroom full of young people at the moment, everybody's very loud. It's really hard, for us, we look at that and say, you're being really, like, why are you not listening to each other? And it's like they're constantly trying to be heard, so the volumes get louder and louder and louder and louder, where then no one is heard. That's because they feel that they can't get their point across. They speak another language to us as well, of our generation. We need to understand them. And the only way we can understand them is by listening and by showing them that we actually really care, not just ticking boxes and saying, oh, we're listening to you because we have to, or, we want to take what you're saying to us and we want to show it to a wider audience. And that's one of the things that we do, is we go into the schools, we talk to the children. Even within Platinum, we have drama sessions that we just sit down and talk about how we feel. Sometimes it ends in tears, sometimes it ends in laughter, sometimes it ends in, a little bit of anger. But this is what we're trying to do. Unfortunately, young people have learned to suppress all their feelings now, because they're not allowed to be happy or sad or excited. They feel that they're scared to show those emotions. So one of the things that we try to do is get them to express themselves. When we go into the schools, we do find that, the children, they don't know who we are. So they're very standoffish to begin with. And they're like, oh, who are you? What are you doing? By the end of the 3-hour sessions that we're giving them, we've got young people saying to us, like, can you please come back? We need this every week. Like, it's great that and you actually care, you listened to what we said, and you actually responded with the way that we felt you should, rather than just brushing it off. When
they tell their story and they get a chance to do that, which is so important to them, and you also say that people don't listen to them normally, how do you get their story out apart from on the stage? I mean, can you go to statutory authorities and say, listen to this, find out what it's really like?
You know what? One of the reasons why we're putting this show on is because we're going to invite all the important people that we feel need to see this. This isn't a script writer sitting down and just writing a script. This is a collaboration of 600 children that have been telling us their stories. So it's true life stories through fictional characters, basically. So we will invite the councillors down, we will invite the mayor down, we will invite everybody down. We can't promise they'll come down, but hopefully they will hear what we are saying. You need to come and hear what these young people are saying. We need you to come because I'll give you an example. We had one young boy in one of the workshops that we did, and they wanted, apparently they were very close to getting expelled. They were on the last thread of getting expelled. And when we started speaking to that boy, first thing we do is, can we have something positive about yourself? 90% of the children turn around and say, oh, we've got nothing to say, to begin with. Then secondly, we say a negative, like, what do you feel? Something negative that's going on, or what do you feel? They had over 5 each. This young particular boy started off saying, I don't want to do anything when I'm older. I've got nothing to do. I'm not good at anything. I'm not good at anything. By the end of the 3 hours, he had come up to one of our practitioners and said, I want to be a pilot. I've always wanted to be a pilot, but I've been told I'm not clever enough to be a pilot, so I will never be a pilot. What do you say to that young person? You know, that's wrong. You can't say to that young person, he's not going to be a pilot. What you need to say to him is, listen, you may not be academically ready right now, but this is what we need to work on. This is where we need to go. This is what we need to do. There's other ways around things. We can't keep stopping these young people and saying, oh, stop being silly, that's a dream. My dream was to open up a FAME school. When I was 9, I was saying that at 9 years old, I want a FAME school. The people in my classroom remember that. They bring their grandchildren to me now and say, I remember you standing up in class saying, that's what you want to do. If I was shut down at that time and told I'm never going to be able to do that, and I took that on board, I was a child that took that on board, I wouldn't have been able to do what I've done now. And so many young people's lives have, I hate to say the word change, have taken paths that it would never have taken.
So do you have any sort of examples of how you've made a difference? I mean, particularly in the crime area, where someone might have gone right off the rails.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go on, tell us.
Yes, loads. I mean, I've got, and he won't mind me saying, I've got a young man called Lashane. He started with me at the age of 13, a very prime age where you can get involved in that. And I see him dancing, and I said to him, have you ever thought about dancing? He was like, no. And I was like, I'd love to be able to offer you the boys' scholarship. Come down. He was a little bit on that rocky road at the time. He started coming in. He was amazingly talented. And over the years, he grew with us. Cut a long story short, he was with us for 6 years. He ended up getting into one of the biggest colleges in England, which is Erdang, on a scholarship, which was worth £18,000. He did our teacher training course. He's one of our best teachers now. He went straight into Motown, was in Motown for 6 months. From Motown, he went into Hairspray. From Hairspray, he's now that we're very happy, it's a bit of a bittersweet. He's abroad now in Germany doing Starlight Express for 2 years. So that's just one. We've got another young boy with us now who, had a very bad situation within his family. If it wasn't for Platinum, he says, his mum says he would have gone down the wrong path. He's now on the verge of auditioning for colleges now. I've got another young boy who was in trouble with the police all the time. He's now filming for Hollyoaks. He's been in the Spider-Man movies. There's a lot of young people that have turned their lives around because they found something that they love and they've got a passion. It's like
and you want to develop and expand this, don't you? Because you're
Yes.
going to start in September, the Platinum Academy, the college.
Yes.
What's all that about?
Right, so we were finding a lot of young people are auditioning now for these big colleges, and yes, we've been lucky, and everybody that's auditioned out of our school has got into these colleges. But what about the other children that are auditioning who live in the local area or outside of the local areas that are not getting into these big colleges? What do they do? So we know we've got a formula that works because we are getting our children into the industry and we are getting our young people into the colleges. So we've got a formula that works. We are very strict. We've got a very tight regime, but that's what the young people like about what we do. So we are now opening our doors as a full-time college and offering a level 4 in a creative practitioner, a level 3 in musical theatre, specialising in dance, and we've been accredited by the Rock School, which is really great, and that's the qualifications we're going to be running. And the reason why we're doing this is we're in the premises of a working theatre. We can offer young people work to start getting their foundations down, get the professional experience by being in the theatre. We've got a great team of teachers that will be working with us that love what we're doing. We're backed by, the wonderful Mark Day that's had years and years and years of experience within the theatre. He's going to be delivering one of our bolt-on courses. So not only are they getting the performing arts side of it, the industry side of it, we are actually giving them bolt-on courses so they can have backup plans. So we're having introductory to stage management. We're having introductory to body art painting. I'm qualified fitness instructor. We're giving them the qualification of being an exercise music teacher. We've got introductory to photography. So we're giving them other professions that they can link in to the profession that they love doing. And who better to do those other things than performers?
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, what more do you need to be even more successful? But I don't really need to ask that because you're doing that already.
I wouldn't call myself successful and the company successful. What I do like to say is that we've got success stories. For me, I just love to see people coming out the other end, because I came out the other end. Someone believed in me one day and said to me, it doesn't matter that you can't read and write. If you learn another way, you will, and you will go back to college and you will help lots of other people in your situation. And that's, for me, that one person changed my life. And if one of my teachers or myself we find a lot of young people inspired by other young people. So as long as keeps happening, then all we can do is have that ripple effect of positivity. Because unfortunately, what we have now is a young generation of negativity, and that's what we need to change.
Okay, and clearly that's something you're doing. So, I suppose we're coming to the end of our half hour now. So the last question really is, how do I apply? Well, not me, but maybe me. But if anybody wanted to find out more about you and what you're doing, and they wanted to get involved in any way at all, how would they go about doing that?
So you can go on to either of our websites. You can go on to www.platinumperformingarts.co.uk, or you can go on to our Platinum Academy. If you just enter us in Google, we'll come up, and just contact us. Our phone numbers are on there. Give us a call. In any way, if you feel that you'd like to get involved in the academy, if you'd like to get involved in the school, if you'd like to get involved in any of the projects, because we've actually just been funded now for another project called Dream, Believe, Succeed, which is very similar to the Power to Make a Change, but in primary schools. So we're hitting a younger age now. So that's coming up as well now.
Okay, well, thank you very much for doing this. I mean, really great interview, and you're doing some fantastic things. And I love what you said. Your measure of success is not your success; it's the success story of those people you've been involved in. And I think that's a fantastic thing. I think a lot of people will be inspired by what you're doing, will support what you're doing, and I hope you do get all those councillors along to watch the show, because I'm sure they will learn a lot.
And you can come along yourself, which I'd love to see you there. I will send you information.
Oh yeah, please do send me an invitation for that. Anyhow, Nina, thanks a lot for doing this.
Thank you so much, Francis, for inviting me on. Thank you.
Well, it's great. So, we'll finish this interview now.